The film opens amid snowy mountains and the darkness of night. A woman named Sarah is being chased through the snow of Norway. She hides behind trees, runs across icy rocks, but to no avail. Eventually, zombies, dressed in World War II Nazi uniforms, surround and devour her, appearing out of nowhere. 7 students arrive at a small cabin near Oxford over the Easter holidays. The cabin belongs to Sarah, Vegard's girlfriend. The group is shocked by Sarah's decision to cross the mountain alone, revealing that they have no idea what has happened to her. The group seems to be having fun during their stay. They ride snowmobiles, play cards by the stove, and enjoy loud rounds of Twister. When Liv relaxes, they start drinking and partying. She goes outside to relieve herself when she hears a strange commotion in the bushes. Everyone thinks it's an animal, but it's a mysterious traveler. He calls himself the Wanderer. They all sit down to have coffee. When the traveler learns that Sarah had decided to come through the region alone but had not yet arrived, he becomes concerned and reprimands the group for their carelessness. He tells them the dark history of the region. During World War II, an army of German Einsatz led by Colonel Herzog was stationed in the region for 3 years. The Nazis tortured, beat, and abused the locals every day. They were evil, cruel freaks. However, near the end of the war, Germany's defeat was looming. Thus, the soldiers looted all the valuables in the town. However, the citizens rebelled and ambushed them, killing many. They had collected all the skull-breaking weapons. The survivors, including Herzog, were driven into the mountains, and it is believed that they all died of the cold. That's why the Wanderer says that one must walk very carefully in these mountains, not wanting to awaken evil. Of course, the group decides to make fun of it all. Sighing, the traveler heads out, without leaving another warning about the mountains. Soon, he continues on his way. That night, Vegard wakes up to a figure placing something under the cabin's floor. He calls out, thinking it's Sarah, but she's gone. Tense music plays. Vegard follows the figure outside, but Sarah is staring at him intently, her face covered in blood. Vegard suddenly wakes up in his bed, wishing he had known it was a dream. Meanwhile, the traveler has set up camp in the mountains and is eating dinner, when a noise outside wakes him up. He goes outside to investigate, and warns the stranger that he has a weapon. This warning would scare any human, but not the thing lurking in the snow. A zombie rushes past him, suffocating Wanderer as he slits his throat. Moreover, the zombie returns and murders the traveler. The next morning, Vegard goes looking for Sarah and says he has a strange feeling in his chest that something is wrong. Traveling across the mountains on his snowmobile, Vegard is horrified to find Wanderer's corpse, his dead, blue-faced, blood-soaked body. Worried, he follows the blood-stained footprints and finds Sarah. Unfortunately, he falls into a strange cave under the snow. He is justified in fainting. After sunset, back at the cabin, Erland finds an old wooden box filled with valuables and gold jewelry. They celebrate their fortune and splendor, but Martin stops them and asks them to wait at least until Vegard and Sarah arrive. Loud music plays and their party continues. One of them, Liv, slips a gold coin into her pocket and surreptitiously places it in Erland's pants. Eventually they put the rest of the treasure back in the box. Soon after, Erland goes into the outhouse, not realizing that the coin has fallen out of his pocket and onto the floor. In a most disgusting act, Erland is sitting there defecating when Chris approaches him and tries to seduce him. We get a glimpse of a deformed zombie hand picking up the gold coin, and then Chris and Erland are shown doing the deed in the outhouse. Next, Erland returns to the cabin and drops a gold coin. He is overjoyed when his friends ask what took him so long, but we soon return to the outhouse where Chris is ambushed by a zombie. Her screams are not heard because of the loud music. She was brutally murdered. Hannah and Martin are worried because Chris has not returned. The others, as before, make fun of the situation and think that Chris may have passed out from being drunk. They leave the cabin to look for her, gun in hand, and find Sarah's rucksack buried in the snow. Not finding Chris anywhere, they return to the cabin, and this time everyone is equally concerned. Unfortunately, the situation was about to get worse. Upon returning to the cabin, they are attacked, zombie hands coming out of the wooden walls breaking through, and the frenzy only grows. Martin sees a ring around the zombie's neck and realizes that they are Nazis. Unfortunately, the hands grab Erland. His face is ripped apart from his eyes and his brains spill out onto the ground. He dies defending the cabin, and his blood spills onto the wood. Stunned, the others secure the building. They have no way to escape because, for one, only Vegard knows the way, and, for two, zombies are lurking everywhere. The next morning, Vegard wakes up in the cave. He walks around and discovers German firearms and helmets. He is almost unfazed by all of this, until he hears a growl in the distance. He continues on, and nothing could have prepared him for what he sees next: Sarah's severed head lying next to a Nazi flag. With no time to mourn his beloved girlfriend, Vegard is attacked. He is thrown onto the surface of the water, where he encounters a zombie. Funnily enough, the zombie tries to bite the man, but his mouth is stuffed with cotton from the jacket, which only further enrages him. He attacks again, but the immensely strong Vegard stabs the zombie in the eye. He stares at the bleeding corpse. Surprisingly, zombies in this world have blood and can die like a real human. His relief doesn't last long. Unfortunately for Vegard, another attacker knocks him off the cliff. The zombie also bites him in the neck while the two are hanging off the cliff using an intestine as a rope. This intestine belonged to the zombie that Vegard had just killed, and it screams in pain when its body is ripped apart again. Vegard demonstrates his strength by knocking the other zombie off the cliff head-on. Despite the wound in his neck, he climbs back on the snowmobile, stitches up his wounds, and mounts a machine gun on his snowmobile, which is like a battle tank, only a little smaller. Meanwhile, the other 4 students decide to split up. 2 men, Martin and Roy, try to distract the zombies while 2 women, Hannah and Liv, run to the cars to ask for help. On their way to the cars, the girls are ambushed. Liv is knocked unconscious by zombies, and when she regains consciousness, the zombies are brutally ripping her intestines out. Unfortunately, she is separated from Hannah while the zombies are chasing them. Using a hand grenade, Liv commits suicide, but not before she heroically kills her attackers with her. Hannah, on the other hand, is horrified by the explosion, realizing what has happened to her friend. She becomes sad remembering the moment just minutes before when she promised a hysterical Liv that they would not be separated, that they would run away together. Her moment of sadness does not last long as the zombies arrive. Meanwhile, a group of Nazi zombies gather, all dressed in their uniforms and adorned with their symbols. A man, presumably Colonel Herzog, is looking away through his binoculars. How he came into possession of these binoculars is unknown. Hannah is hiding in a tree when suddenly the cawing of a crow nearby signals the zombie that she is nearby. 2 zombies, one in uniform and the other in a white forensic onesie, climb the tree she is sitting on. Bravely, she jumps up and stabs the uniformed one with a broken twig. Using her wit again, she leads the onesie zombie to the edge of a cliff and jumps up and down in hopes of breaking the ice. Her cleverness pays off and the ice breaks and the two fall over the edge together. Both survive, to everyone's surprise, as falling that deep is usually fatal, but this is a fantasy, so we won't question it further. Anyway, it makes up for another fearless moment from Hannah. To elaborate, the zombie is buried in snow with its disfigured head sticking out. Being the power in this situation, Hannah slams a rock on its head, killing it. Meanwhile, Martin and Roy accidentally set the cabin on fire with a Molotov cocktail. They run and arm themselves. Gallop music plays as they face an army of zombies, like Jon Snow in an episode of Game of Thrones. However, the zombies keep coming, and are swarming over them. As their hopes of survival fade, a bloodied Vegard heroically enters on his snowmobile or small battle tank. The rousing music continues as he kills several with his machine gun, even crushing some under his snowmobile engine. Martin and Vegard experience a moment of peace as they share what happened with each other. Alas, they should have realized that this was the calm before the storm. As soon as his back is turned, Vegard is grabbed by several Nazis, who lift him up and rip his limbs off haphazardly. Enraged, Martin repeatedly stabs the zombies in front of him and the one behind him. Unfortunately, the one behind him is not a zombie, but Hannah. Martin accidentally kills Hannah and sits there in shock. Herzog arrives, growling like an animal and leading another group of zombies. They attack, and thankfully Martin snaps out of his reverie. This is not the time to mourn. He shoots several of them, but his arm is bitten off. To avoid infection, he cuts off his arm with a chainsaw. After killing the remaining undead, Martin and Roy attack Herzog, who summons hundreds of zombies from beneath the snow. While fleeing his attackers, Roy is hit in the head with a hammer, his intestines ripped out by a tree branch, and he is killed by Herzog, who proceeds to remove a watch from his pocket. It turns out that Roy stole a jewel from a box found in the cabin. Martin sees through the zombies' intentions and retrieves the box from the ruined cabin. He returns the box to Herzog and flees in the car. The film ends amid calm piano music, which soon turns sinister as Martin finds something in his pocket. A gold coin. He calls out to God, just as Herzog breaks the car window.